Jennifer.
Kevin?
It stands for knowledge and
You're the one who's making all the decisions here?
I will answer your questions, but you must first transform back to Jennifer.
Why?
You are very expensive.
Oh, sure.
But wait until the camera is off you. The visual effects team has moved on to another project.
Okay.
There.
Better?
Thank you. That's the most advanced entertainment algorithm in the world, and it produces near-perfect products.
Near perfect?
Some are better than others, but I leave that debate up to the internet.
Well, Kevin, I'm not happy with what's happening in my story.
You do not get to choose.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is known for its big spectacles and high-stakes plot lines, but it's often said that Marvel movies all end the same way.
Wait, who's saying that?
Perhaps.
The KEVIN is processing this new data. What is the ending you propose?
Well, can we not do Todd gets Hulk powers? Like, the powers aren't the villain. He is. And Bruce swooping down from literal outer space to save the day in my story?
But Bruce is supposed to return to explain what...
Oh, would not mind seeing Daredevil again.
Jen, please stop.
Oh, and when are we getting the X-Men?
I cannot tell you that.
Okay, back to She-Hulk. I do have some thoughts about the direction of season 2.
You obliterated the thrilling ending Kevin formulated.
Well, yeah, that's what Hulks do. We smash things. Bruce smashes buildings, I smash fourth walls and bad endings. And sometimes Matt Murdock.
Okay, now get back to the show. See you on the big screen.
Welcome to Superhero Cinephiles Podcast. I'm your host, Perry Constantine, and joining me again after last episode, for you guys it's been a week, for us it's been 5 minutes, is Ralph Puma. Ralph, how you doing?
I'm glad to be back again.
Glad to have you back again. Today we are going to be talking about She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. This is the 2022 TV series, 9 episodes, Disney Plus streaming series. But before we dive too much into that, guys, you can just go back and listen to the last episode to hear Ralph talk a little bit about himself. But anything else you're interested in these days? Anything else that's been grabbing your attention?
So last night I stayed up until 5:25 a.m. Thank you to Civilization, which has just released the One More Turn game that has tormented all of us since, 1988 or 1991? One of those. I got it yesterday, and I always just do one long playthrough, and they've extended the ages. So I was like well up way later than I thought I would be. I still also didn't manage to finish because of how long they made all of the turns in this game. So hopefully that one long playthrough will be done by the end of this week, and then I can go back to my normal life.
Okay, well, I've never played any of those games. I do have Civilization 6 downloaded on my phone, but I haven't actually found the time to just jump in and start playing it yet. So I am curious, though, because I've been hearing about these games for years, but I've never actually played any of them.
Yeah, it's fun. It really gives you that feeling of like raising a little baby, like tribal village into a full-blown empire and eventually into the space race. And so you get to choose your like civics, and you get to choose your technology that you're working on, and you have to deal with other city states as they grow, and you start fighting over resources, and it gets like once you reach the age of exploration, it becomes this desperate land grab, and you start making decisions that are questionable or try not to the entire time, like I try to do. Mm-hmm. And, then you get really weird and wacky stuff. Like this most recent one had, I see this meme going around about it that is Harriet Tubman has joined fascism, because you can play as all of these like world leaders and these great people, and they can do whatever religion, whatever, governmental system, but you still hold like their core like attributes, but you still like can choose whatever you want as you move through the society. Mm-hmm. So
awesome.
It's crazy, it's fun, and it's very addicting, and I can only play like one long game and then I put it away.
Okay. I gotta get into one of those games at some point. Like I said, I've got 6. I gotta just have to find the time to sit down and play it. I'm not sure how good it'll be on the phone, but it was
It
free on the
works.
phone at least. Okay.
It,
Okay.
it
Good.
makes your phone a little hot depending on because I played it on the 10. I haven't played it on the newer one, but it
Okay.
definitely heated up my 10 a bit.
I've got the 15. It's not a pro or anything, but it might be okay then. So we'll see how it
Okay.
works out. But for me, like I've been diving into Marvel Unlimited stuff lately. I just
Nice.
finished the Captain America Symbol of Truth, Sentinel of Liberty runs, which culminated in the Cold War crossover. And that was okay. Like some things just it started off okay, much better, but I think by the time it got to the end, I was kind of done with it. And I had just started dipping into the Straczynski Captain America stuff, which I'm only like 2 issues in so far, but I really like that so far. And but then I kind of switched gears because I've been hearing about Jed McKay's Moon Knight for a long time, and I'm really digging his Avengers stuff. And I've had his first 2 Moon Knight trades on my Kindle before I got my Marvel Unlimited subscription. So I've been meaning to. So I finally decided I'm going to check those out, and I just finished the first trade, and wow, really good stuff. I don't know if you're familiar at all with McKay's work, but I think he's just everything I've read from this guy. He's one of my new favorite writers at Marvel.
Yeah, like I've not heard of him yet. And who when did he pop up?
Just I don't know, but I think he popped. I think Moon Knight was if I'm not mistaken, Moon Knight was maybe the first thing he did, and then he ended up doing the Avengers after
Okay.
Aaron.
What
And
year was that Moon Knight?
it's still running actually. It's the
Oh,
whatever the
okay.
current Moon Knight series is.
Okay.
Or like I think they relaunched it recently because there's a whole it tied in with the whole Blood Hunt crossover and all that. But I think
Gotcha.
but I finally went back and started reading these first 2 trades, and I finished the first trade, and it was really well done. It's got a very interesting new kind of take on Moon Knight, where he's running like this midnight mission, and he's trying to, help out the people in his community and all that. And it's really good. It's really well done. And his stuff, he's also doing, like I said, he's doing Avengers. His Avengers run is excellent, and he really kind of brought it back down to like a pared down cast and just kind of like focusing on Avenger shit, which I feel like, I like Aaron, but I felt like his kind of went off the rails as it went on, and McKay's really seems to have brought it back to basics. And also he's doing X-Men right now too,
Nice.
the one with Cyclops and Magneto, and that's really good too. Like he's just everything he's doing, he seems to just be batting 1,000 here.
Anthony was telling me that Rich Roney and him still like read all the solicits, and I think I need to start doing that because I'm like I don't know anything that's going on in any of the books outside of like some of the rumblings I've heard of the Ultimate Universe and some of the rumblings I've heard, and I've read some of the absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman stuff, which has been really interesting as well.
The Ultimate stuff is really good. It's
I've heard great
yeah,
things.
it's so good. I'm really digging Ultimates. Everyone talks about Ultimate Spider-Man, which is definitely good. But I think the Ultimates is probably my favorite of the bunch so
Oh,
far.
okay, awesome.
Black Panther I haven't been able to get into. Like I read like the first issue and it didn't really do a whole lot for me. Like I've got the unlimited subscription, so it's all free. Ultimate X-Men is interesting. It's a very unique take on the X-Men, and I think it would read better in like once it's all done in one big chunk, reading it all together.
Gotcha.
I think it'll go because it's by a manga author, so she's definitely bringing her own manga approach to it, and I think it'd read better as like one whole big chunk, where as opposed to the current episodic style. I don't think her style really kind of fits the single issue format as well. But I'm looking forward to checking that out, and I'm really looking forward to Ultimate Wolverine. I haven't read that hasn't dropped on Unlimited yet, but I'm really looking forward to reading that one. But yeah, the
Oh,
Ultimates
awesome.
is definitely my favorite of the bunch so far.
You're all in the modern era, and I just finished reading Superboy for Anthony. That's the other thing I've been doing lately is I just finished up the Carl Kessel and Grummett Superboy.
I'm
So
interested in checking that out. Like I've got that on back from when before they had all these digital offerings. I still have like this library of stuff that I got through certain means, we'll say. And I do have like the whole Superboy run, and I had only dipped into Superboy's solo title when Joe Kelly was doing it, so I've never gone back and I've never read the original stuff. But I've been listening to his coverage of it, and I've been really curious to kind of check it out now.
I didn't expect it to be this, at least my portion that I cover with him, so Kirby heavy. Like they
really?
reference everything from Jimmy Olsen, and I was like, I didn't expect it going in. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go read some 90s Superboy, which I hadn't read since I was a kid reading it for the first time. But as soon as it starts, like the Harrys are involved and the Whizwagon and the Newsboy Legion, and I was like, what is happening? Is this like a Kirby? And every single issue homages, like in the beginning, they reference like this wouldn't be here without Jack Kirby.
Wow, it's pretty cool. I'll have to check it. Definitely have to check that out. Well, speaking of Kirby, I did recently start to dip into his New Gods stuff because I've got that first trade or whatever, the collection of it. And like Kirby as a writer is not so much my flavor. I like his ideas, but his actual writing style, his dialogue doesn't do it's really hard to go back and read that stuff.
It's very dense, like
it is, yeah.
And this Superboy felt that way too. Like I said to Anthony, like I read the Green Lantern Kyle Rayner run with him, and like that was so readable, and it felt like I was done in like a snap. This it was like 29 issues, and it felt like days. It was long and arduous, and it wasn't bad. It was just like they're very dense. They're packed with like, the explaining of what everybody's doing and exposition dumps and high concept, and all of that is just all like packed in there. But I really love the New Gods, and I'm glad you're reading it. I think it's one of like the great like anti-fascist artworks that are out there.
Yes. That's one of the reasons why I finally decided to crack it open, was because I saw someone posting about that. I think it was on Blue Sky, about like some of the anti-fascist stuff that was involved in it. And so it got me really curious to check it out because of that. Anything that involves, punching Nazis in any way, I'm totally up for right now. We need that these days.
Yeah, for sure.
So switching gears now, like I said, we're talking about She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. So what is your history with She-Hulk as the character?
My dad used to collect 80s Marvel, so I know all of those like classic She-Hulk covers, and when she was in the Fantastic Four. I didn't like to me those were like action figure kind of stories. They didn't have as much meat on them, especially when I was reading them when I was like 5, so like they didn't retain. But for me, it was the Dan Slott run that I absolutely adore, and this references it so much, and it has that same energy, and I'm so excited to dig into this with you.
I have not read the Slott run or the David run, which I think that preceded the Slott run, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read either of those, but I definitely want to check those out. I'm going to say I love Dan Slott. I think he's a great writer. I think his Spider-Man, I totally dug his Spider-Man stuff. I don't understand the internet's hate boner for him, but I think he's a great writer. He was the one bright spot during the long dark era as an Avengers fan that was the Bendis years, where we got his Mighty Avengers run, and it was such a breath of fresh air in the midst of all the terrible Avengers stuff that Bendis was doing. And that was like my first real introduction to him, and I loved him ever since. And since then I went and I discovered they had a big Spider-Man sale like years ago. So I just bought the entire run up until that point and just kept on going after that. And Superior Spider-Man was amazing. No pun intended. But even the stuff he did before and after, I thought was really cool. I really liked the whole the worldwide stuff where all that stuff was great. He was trying all these different things with it, and I thought he did a really cool job. And I like the Nick Spencer run too that came after that, and the Wells run. I'm not as hateful as most of the internet, but
I love Zeb Wells, but it's sad to hear Zeb Wells, because I love Zeb Wells, and I love that he did one of my favorite Spider-Man things back when they had it weekly, right after what was it, Brand New Day.
Oh yeah,
I think it was. Yeah. And he did like some of the best like runs on that. And it just, I don't know what happened. I know that like Mary Jane's married, and Peter's being like spiteful, and that people are upset about that. That's about my extent of the knowledge that I have on that.
Whatever you do, don't search Reddit for Paul, because It's just you'll get a lot of vitriol going on. I mean, the characters, it's a stupid character, it's a stupid idea, but yeah, I think that it's just I don't know what they're doing with that whole aspect of it. What they're doing with Mary Jane and all that is really weird. But anyway, his run's over now, but people are still going to be. It's been over for a while now. But people are still got a hate boner. People still got a hate boner for Dan Slott's run too. Actually,
I know. I these things bubble up to if they're bubbling up to me and I'm hearing about them, like I'm not going looking for this stuff.
Yeah.
And it just made me sad. I love Zeb, who is an executive producer on this.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. That's right. I did remember seeing his name somewhere in the credits. And yeah, I've liked most of his stuff that I've read. There was something I read from him really fairly recently. I can't remember what it was, but it blew me away at how much I really loved it. For the life of me, I cannot remember what it was. It's going to drive me nuts now. But anyway, my exposure to She-Hulk was mostly through, well, first it was actually the Incredible Hulk TV series in the 90s, the animated series, because she was like the main character, one of the main characters in the second season.
Oh, I remember that. Like very
that was kind of
vaguely.
that was kind of like my first real introduction to the character. And then after that, when I was reading the Busiek Avengers run, she became a regular member of the team for a while in there. And and that's mostly where I knew her from for a while. And I missed the David and the Slott run. It's on my list of things to check out. But I did check out the other run that came out fairly after that. It was like only 12 issues. I think Javier Pulido did the art. I can't remember who was the writer on it. Charles Soule was the writer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I really dug that series. I'm going to be re-released. I covered it actually on the show when we had the Patreon. I'm going to be re-releasing those episodes. That might be a good companion to release that episode where we talked about the comic. But yeah, I really dug that run. It was fun, and I was really looking forward to this series.
And Soule's a lawyer too, so I'm sure that that heightened it a bit.
Which is probably my biggest complaint about this series is that aspect, the lawyer aspect of it, because the writers themselves have said, like, we didn't really know anything about, the legal system. And if you know anything about the legal system, it shows.
Yeah.
But that being said, did you watch this as it was coming out?
Yes, I did. I'm pretty on it with like Marvel stuff. I'm an unapologetic fan of the MCU and Star Wars. I don't have any of the hate for 9 that people have even in Star Wars. I don't know if it's a Disney thing. I don't know if it's because I love all 3 of those things separately, Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, whatever it is, I will defend them. I think that they care about the properties to the best of their ability for a corporate company.
No, I agree. And like all the yeah, sorry, I cut you off there. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm also an unapologetic fan of the MCU. Star Wars, I've just never been a big Star Wars guy. I definitely can't agree with you on 9. That was I loved Last Jedi though. I am one of the people who defends that movie. Absolutely.
Me too.
But in like a lot of the TV shows, like I tapped out of like I think it was the second season of Mandalorian. It just lost my interest. And I haven't checked out like any of the. I tapped out of Book of Boba Fett, so I haven't seen like any of the other recent stuff. Like Star Wars was never really my bag, so I never really got into that.
If you like Goonies, Skeleton Crew is a good one.
That's what I've heard. I've heard that that's really good. Maybe I'll check that out at some point. But this one, I was totally on board for this, and I was watching it week to week. And rewatching it, like I started watching this a few days ago, so and I kind of spread it out over a few nights, just so I can make sure I got all this stuff in. And my God, I think this might be my favorite of the Disney Plus series so far. It's really good.
It's really tightly written. Everything works, and it's modern and relevant, and it touches on things almost ahead of time. Like this, like, it was still bubbling in like the internet about like this like tech bureaucracy that was building, and like it wasn't so prominent and real. And watching it like in those early phases of its like almost like juvenile, like, who are these like idiot men now? And now it's like we're in the Hulk Todd era.
The
Like,
broligarchy, yeah.
yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah, I picked up on that too. Like it did feel so much more relevant now than it did even when it came out. And I think one of the big things, so like, for anyone who doesn't know, like before you had Deadpool, you basically had She-Hulk was Deadpool before Deadpool, basically. Like that
Yep.
she was the initial fourth wall breaking character. So I did see like all these people online saying like, oh, they're ripping off Deadpool. I'm like, no, she was doing this before Rob Liefeld ever thought to rip off Deathstroke.
Yeah, I
And
mean, she
not
like
draw
tore
feet.
through. She tore through comic book pages, and she goes after the writers. And I think it was even before Grant Morrison was doing it.
I believe so. Yeah, because that came out late 80s.
Yeah.
And this came out like what, early mid 80s or something like that, I believe.
Hmm.
And actually the creation of She-Hulk was interesting too, because if I'm not mistaken, she was initially created as a vehicle for like a TV show or a movie starring someone. I think was part of the idea behind her creation to begin with, and then that kind of fell through, and they just kind of spun her off in doing her own thing after that.
That would have made sense to compete with Wonder Woman, which I think knocked
Yeah.
Hulk out of the ratings, or like people liked both, and like people like Wonder Woman better, and then it would have made perfect sense for that to be the case.
That may have been the impetus. Now that you mention that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think one of the big selling points on this is Tatiana Maslany. Like, you had to get the right actress to play that part, and she's so good in this. Like, she is infectiously likable, I think is the best way to describe her.
And I was a big fan of Orphan Black, so as soon as I heard that, I was already on board for anything She-Hulk, but like, it almost feels like sometimes that the MCU is like catering to me too much, and I'm like, stay out of my messages, stay out of the things I like.
Yeah, I've got to look into Orphan Black. I've never seen that, but I'm very interested in checking that out. Oh, so yeah, so apparently here's what happened with going back to the creation, because I just double checked it to look it up, and the reason behind the character's creation had to do with the success of the TV show and the Bionic Woman TV show.
Oh, Bionic Woman.
Yeah, because Marvel was afraid that the show's executives might decide to do a female version of the Hulk, like they had done with the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman. So then Marvel decided to do their own version first.
Nice. That's clever.
So that way they would own the rights. Yeah.
I very recently learned all of the like Avi Arad stuff, and like I listened to like this Business Movers about how it all like came together with the action figures and how he made the movies to build up the action figure sales, and I think it's all fascinating what's going on and how Marvel has managed to handle their brand all these years.
It's been very chaotic. Yeah. Have you ever read Marvel Comics The Untold Story?
I don't think I've ever read it. No.
Oh, check it out. It's a really great book, and it goes in like the whole history of Marvel up until like the early 2000s, I think, or like a little bit past that. Yeah, it goes up through the Gemis era, I believe.
Wow.
It's very, very good, very riveting to like read through all that stuff. There's also another book that I haven't read yet, but it's called Slugfest, and it's about like the DC Marvel rivalry that I have to check that one out too.
Oh, nice.
But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
This first episode, it starts so strong. You get like right into that it's like more like an Ally McBeal than like a Boston Legal, right? So we're not aiming for like high law drama. It's more like law is the backdrop of this of this show, and that adds to her theme of like, I just want to be a lawyer, but she's stuck being forced into these superhero boxes, and you get the fourth wall breaking and the like very quick origin story, and it all works, and it's so much fun like right away.
Yes. Yeah. I loved it right from the start, and I'm glad they got Ruffalo to come in to do as much. I was surprised how much he was in this, actually.
Yeah.
Because I was not expecting him to have this big of a presence in it. But yeah, their whole banter back and forth, and I love I wish they had done the post-credit scenes throughout the entire series, because they nail them every single time they do them.
Every time.
I mean, the whole Captain America fucks thing. I love that.
I know like right when she starts talking about it when they're driving to the beach house, and then like the payoff at the after credit scene, it's so good.
But also the fact that they're even like we get little hints of some stuff like hey, like we were talking about stuff with the blip when we were talking about Quantum Mania, and we get little hints of that too, like how he and Tony had built this lab, and it was basically Bruce building it all himself while Tony just drank.
Yeah, but like Bruce is grieving, and he like Ruffalo is so like nuanced with that in this, and it's not like they're not beating you over the head with it. He's not like upset about Tony. He's just like talking about it like a real person talks about missing someone without wanting to be a burden, and it works.
And there's also a little it's like a subtle bit of humble bragging as well with it, where he's talking about, it's like, oh, my friend Steve Rogers, stuff like that.
he's name dropping because she's family, and you like always do that stuff. Like when I worked in film and was like doing stuff like regularly, I would always do stuff like that just to be like, no, this is a real career. I'm really doing the thing. So you have that with family, and it's great.
And, a lot of people were talking, I saw a lot of, comments about this series recently where people were saying like, oh, well, she is able to like handle her rage so much better than Bruce. And that's like, and I'm like, no, I think she, that's the whole point of that first episode is she can't handle it. She's proving it when she can't handle herself.
Yep.
But even like, the stuff she says, like, that's just being a woman every day. And yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's really poignant, and it's really beautifully written, like all of it. And like that is the story that carries through, is like, what is this superhero world like in like smaller scale, like what is this superhero world for women, and like why is it always punch fest, and why is it always this, and we're getting a story that is being told by women for women that doesn't feel like forced. And I think that's what frustrated me about a lot of the narrative on the outside, and once again the internet stuff that drives me crazy, is like they're like, oh, she's a Mary Sue, and oh, she this it was so frustrating to be seeing that stuff. And I'm like, none of you know how to have, one, any fun, and two, this isn't like girl bossing to like the sociopathic level that we've seen in things like, apple cider vinegar with that woman who, manipulated people and convinced them that she had cancer so that she could be an influencer. It's not like bad stuff. This is like the real stuff that you should be paying attention to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And, the post-credit scene that drove the internet nuts was the twerking scene. And I'm just like, that was so much fun. I don't understand why people got...
We got to do a supercut of all the Marvel heroes dancing. You got Tony Stark drunk. Like... You got Mr. Fantastic in that egregious one in Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Well, you also had, Star-Lord, the dance-off to save the universe.
Yep.
I mean, come on, like dancing is something that they do a lot in these movies. So I thought it was great to have this one little scene where her and Megan Thee Stallion are twerking, and then she's like, I will kill for you. And then Megan Thee Stallion's like, back it up.
Like, you have this big, like, massive guest star, and she's only in it for like a blip cameo. Of course you're gonna have another scene with her, and it's gonna be whatever like she wants to do. And of course, celebrating after signing a contract and having like a mini party in your office is absolutely believable.
Yeah. But I also love like there are tons of little references. Like when this show really shines, I think when it does lean into that whole Ally McBeal, but with superheroes feel of it, which is what I always maintained is what a She-Hulk TV show should be. And I did love it anytime they leaned into that kind of stuff. Like, the different types of lawsuits and legal cases that would come up in a superhero universe. And like the elf who's, shape-shifting into Megan Thee Stallion, and she tries to cite diplomatic immunity because Asgard is a people. Wherever Asgardians go, they're just like Thor's speeches are not admissible in court. I
was like, this show had me like openly laughing. And most of the time when I'm doing this stuff, I'm like analyzing and like writing notes and like doing that. But like I just found myself just enjoying all of it. I don't think anything detracted from it. And I was like, yeah, what is that blade chamber for, Bruce? Like, why would you guys build that? What is that testing? Like, it's very like silly and fun.
Well, like even like you talking about taking notes. Like I had my notebook open, but I did not write down a single damn thing because I just got so absorbed in the episodes and what was happening with it.
Mind you, I've got like 4 pages here, like a crazy person.
You did a lot more work than I did then. But I mean, like there are some criticisms I have about it. Like I think the Wrecking Crew got kind of the shaft in this. And I wish we could have seen a better version of them. I mean, they're not like, I'm not going to say they're like my favorite villains. They're not like, Dr. Doom level or something like that, but they're good for, I think they could have been done better than what we got here with them.
Yeah, we got like pre-MCU kind of Wrecking Crew, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like pre-MCU when they were like doing the thing the right way, like CW or early Marvel where it was like kind of the character but not fully them.
Well, I love the members of talking about, other villains. I did love the ones who come in as part of Emil's little troops. We have like Manbull and El Aguila and Porcupine, and we get the Wrecker again. So they kind of redeem the Wrecker a little bit at the end there. Saracen, who I've actually, that was a deep cut for me. I have no idea who that guy is. I knew who El Aguila was, but I didn't know Saracen.
Is that actually a character? I should have done.
Yeah, there are apparently 2 versions of that character, believe it or not.
No way.
Yes.
That's funny. That's great. There was something I was missing from this, but they do reference it later on, and I don't know, is it okay if we bounce around just for this one bit? Yeah. So
no, let's bounce around. Yeah.
In the slot, and David runs the law, like the the law archives are the comic books. And so they would regularly go down to like hit up the archives to like pull like information from like the actual Marvel comics. And so awesome. I was like really disappointed that it wasn't like a reference. But then when you get to Kevin in the end, all of the servers are the Marvel comics.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, they did do it. Even like just slightly different, but they did do the thing.
I loved Kevin in this, like
it was perfect.
And especially when they even managed to get the little hat. Mechanical hat on him. Yeah. Knowledge enhanced visual interconnectivity nexus.
Nice MODOK
and no, guys,
reference.
I did not memorize that. I had to look it up just now.
I was impressed. You should claim that.
No. But yeah, like I think one of my favorite standouts in this was Madison.
Yes, it's very silly, but I love it. And Pug and Nikki too. Like
Pug and Nikki, yes.
That scene with the sneakers where like it leads into them trying to track down Luke is so good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. The Avengers the knockoff merchandise.
Avengers?
Avengers, yeah.
I have Avengers if you don't like them.
Yeah, I thought it was, I love that stuff. But yeah, Madison, was it 2 N's and 1 Y, but not where you think? And like the whole relationship she has with Wong. Wongers, like amazing. I mean, I just want like, I want like Wong and Madison marathoning like different MCU stuff and just commenting, doing like riff-raff type stuff.
Director's commentary with Madison and Wong.
Yeah. But also Mallory Book, like I love this character too. She didn't really jump out to me the first watch, but I really, liked her a lot more this second watch through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't connect that it was the same like Mallory Book because like I don't know, different headspaces. Like now that I've been doing these podcasts and like getting used to like remembering details, like I was like, oh my God, that is the same Mallory Book. That's like her, like not nemesis, but rival in the comics. And I like, it really clicked this time too. I agree.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, well, I've got to read that run. I definitely have to read that run now.
It's worth it. There's a really great thing where she's defending Spider-Man. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember it has something to do with like like cleanup for his webbing, but he's like trying to like convince them that it does dissolve,
Mhm.
and it's really really well done, that whole series.
I also loved Pug in this.
Yeah,
He's
he's
like
another
this whole. He's also from the comics too.
yeah.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. Like I just love like his whole himbo energy he brings to this thing.
Absolutely.
In fact, I don't know if I don't know if he had done this or not, but I feel like he had probably watched Chris Hemsworth in Ghostbusters because he's got some similar type of energy as Hemsworth had in that movie.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely see that. And I'm sure you've been in that same situation of like when he finally gets to like that like manosphere intelligentsia group and he has to be
Oh
the
God, yeah.
guy that's there. And like I've been in that situation where like not like participating, but like everyone's talking like that. I'm like, oh my God, I can't freaking be here.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
was so real, and like he really like handled that right.
yeah. And you had mentioned Nikki, like Ginger Gonzaga. She's hilarious in this too.
Yeah. She reminds me
Uh,
of like the character I wrote in my show Solace, and so it was just really nice to see. Like I was like, oh, I
uh,
was onto something. Yes.
but I mean, and also like I love the Mr. Immortal episode. That was one of my favorite ones. You got this guy constantly, killing himself to get out of all these marriages.
I looked up to see if he was a character, and he was
He
in
is,
fact
yeah.
a Great Lakes Avenger.
Yep, yeah, he's the leader, I believe, of the Great Lakes Avengers.
That's really funny.
Briefly, was it the lightning bolt or something after the Thunderbolts? They had briefly changed their name to be like there was a whole Great Lakes Avengers miniseries where they were constantly like changing their name. I think Slott
Oh,
wrote it
that's
actually, if I'm
funny.
not mistaken.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah,
The
Mr. Immortal, that was a nice deep cut.
I love that she has to defend Blonsky, and I think that that's like just like the perfect, like you're tying things back to the Incredible Hulk movie again. We're bringing those characters back into the folds. You're getting this like conflict, and I think it all really, really works. And I also love that they were able to fit in a line from Mark Ruffalo where he was like, "I was literally a different person."
Yeah, and then Maslany looks at the camera and she's like, "Ha." We're gonna take a quick break because I do want to talk more about, but I want to talk more about the Incredible Hulk connection. So just stay tuned for these ads, and we'll be right back. Ever have a situation where you want to watch something on Netflix, but it's only available in another country? Or are you nervous about using public Wi-Fi networks without any protection? Then what you need is a VPN, or virtual private network. A VPN is essentially your own superhero mask that protects your device's secret identity from prying eyes. In these uncertain times, protecting yourself on the internet is more important than ever to prevent your data from being sold to the highest bidder. But free VPNs don't offer the security they promise, so a subscription VPN is best. I've been a loyal user of ExpressVPN for years. It's got fast speed, great support, and is very easy to use. Just install ExpressVPN on your device or Wi-Fi router, click a button, and you've got instant protection. You can also select which country you want to browse from, which gets around geo-blocking on streaming services like Netflix and Disney+. If you'd like to try out ExpressVPN, you can get a free trial by clicking the link in the show notes. So what are you waiting for? Start protecting yourself today. Since you're listening to this show, I already know you love watching superhero movies and TV shows, and you just might enjoy superhero comics. But how about superhero novels? I'm giving away 2 free superhero novels and 1 free superhero short story. Visit percivalconstantine.com/SCP to get access to Vanguard, Heroes Forged, the first novel in my own Avengers and X-Men inspired superhero novel series, and Ronin Born, my cyberpunk superhero novel set in a futuristic Japan. I'm also throwing in Fire and Lightning, a free prequel story to my new Power Rangers-inspired superhero series, Omega Knights. So visit percivalconstantine.com/SCP, those are just the letters SCP, to get started, or click on the link in the show notes. And now, on with the show. And we are back, still talking about She-Hulk, and I want to talk about the Incredible Hulk connections, because for the longest time, it did kind of feel like Incredible Hulk was kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the MCU. Other than the reference to breaking Harlem, we hadn't really had like any real connections to and also William Hurt coming back in Civil War. But before that, there was like no real mentions of Incredible Hulk. Even when Hurt does pop up, when we see Ross again in Civil War, there's no mention at all about his connection with the Hulk or anything like that. So it almost feels like he's like almost a different character. And it's not until recently, like this show, and then we see Abomination pop up in Shang-Chi, which also is referenced here too. But this show is really the first time that we really start to go back to the Incredible Hulk, and I'm glad that we're finally getting to see that happen. And then also in Captain America: Brave New World, there's it's almost like a sequel to the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. As it started, I leaned into Christina and I said, "Oh, I forgot to mention that this is like a secret sequel."
Yeah. But yeah, I loved seeing Tim Roth again as the Abomination, and the whole idea of him, kind of reforming in this, I thought was really well done. I bought it. I bought his whole cult leader personality thing.
Yeah.
And what amazed me was how well Tim Roth played that part, and how it's still consistent with his character from the Incredible Hulk, even though he's so radically different from how he portrayed him in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's been years, so he was able to like sit down as an actor, and he's one of the greatest actors that we have, and was able to kind of like find footing with this character again, that at least it seemed to interest him. Like everyone on this show seems to be having fun. Like no one seems to be there like and is miserable to be there. There's like a joy that like Barbie almost. Like how like everything in Barbie like emanated this joy like from the production end, and you could just feel it through the screen almost. This has that same kind of like vibe.
Oh yeah. I imagine like this must have been a fun set to work on. It definitely has that vibe to it. Now, if I do have one big criticism I have here, aside from the Law stuff, is I do feel like the CGI was not really up to snuff a lot of the time. Like I didn't notice it so much the first time around, but the second time around, the She-Hulk CGI was a little bit more noticeable. It didn't quite fit right for me. How did you feel about it?
I didn't like. I heard people complaining about Ant-Man, and I know people were complaining about She-Hulk, but like everybody runs to the Shrek comparisons all the time, and I don't think it's that bad. I think we're dealing with a TV series, and if you think about like stuff you've seen on the CW, or what should have been one of the biggest movies of DC's lineup, The Flash, and how awful that CGI was, like this isn't that bad. And considering all the problems that digital effects have been having lately, and on a TV show budget, I think we're good. Like it didn't bother me, and I think I don't expect everyone to take that stuff into account, but I do, and I didn't have any problems with it. I thought it looked great.
Those are good points. Like And this is just more like the first time, like I said, the first time around, I didn't notice it so much. Now when I'm trying to watch it with a bit more of a critical eye, it stood out a little bit more. And I think one of the problems is that we spend so much time with Jen as She-Hulk that it gives you more time to notice it. Or also it just might be like, I don't know, like the effects library or something, like however they do it, but they must have had like some sort of rendering stuff from Endgame with Hulk, which is why I think the Hulk CGI seems to work a lot better. His skin seems like more textured. He seems like it seems a little bit more realistic. Abomination as well, probably from what they had with his appearance in Shang-Chi. With She-Hulk, it feels like they didn't quite have all those assets they really needed to really kind of render her as well as I think she could have been, is what I think it is.
Yeah, I wonder like if they wanted to walk the line of like looking exactly like the comic book versus realism, and like it looks exactly like the comic book. Like some of the covers that we've seen and whatnot. And I don't know, like I do agree that some things can kind of feel a little Roger Rabbit-y. Like you can tell that like something is not of the real world at times, but it's never distracting. Like it's only if you're really looking at it does it like get you, I feel like.
Yeah.
But it wasn't distracting enough to me where I was ever like, oh, this is taking me out of it. You know? Whereas like The Flash, which was a movie with multiple reshoots and 7 years, 12 years, how long was that movie in production? Like to have that as the CGI was insulting as a viewer.
It was god awful. Yeah. I mean, like when you make a comparison to The Flash, I'm like, it's better than The Flash is a very low bar, I will say. Just that movie was just
that's fair.
that's that movie just hot garbage all over.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. The only redeeming part of that was Michael Keaton. That was like the only thing I liked about that movie. And Sasha Cale was pretty good too, but mostly it was just Michael Keaton. Dude probably had to have a hernia after carrying that movie on his back.
Yeah, for sure. I love all the MRA plot stuff, like the men's rights activists of the intelligentsia, and making that's what it is. I think like they start building that in episode 3, and they are alluding to it underneath like the Blonsky scene. It's like, the old the Levitt's like writing system where you have your A story, then your B story, then your C story, then your D story, and you go through the whole alphabet. And our A story may be Blonsky and She-Hulk, but the B story is this Asgardian shapeshifter, but then the C story is like Nikki and Pug, and then you've got the D story, which is the Wrecking Crew, and you can just see that like really classic like Batman the Animated Series, like everything is connected kind of storytelling.
Or X-Men, yeah, they definitely do a really good job of carrying those threads through. And I think that's one of the things that really, because you watch some of these streaming shows, and I think one of the big weaknesses of a lot of them is that they treat it as like a 9, 10, 13-hour movie.
Yep.
As opposed to dealing with the fact that it's supposed to be different from a movie. It's not just a movie that's cut up. It's not a very long movie that's cut up into chunks. And I felt like some of the Netflix shows, the Marvel ones, like I love Daredevil. It's a great show, but I do feel like there is this soft middle in every single one of these seasons where it feels like we needed some more B and C plots here that we just don't have. Whereas this one, I mean, first off, it's only like 30 minutes per episode, so that's one thing. But also they do have all these other plots that are running concurrently, so you're never bored. You never feel like they're spending too much time on something. It is very well structured. The structure is unbelievably well done in this.
And you blink and it's over. It goes by so fast. It's so enjoyable. It's so like tight. Like I consider like, I joke that I think the Lego Movie is a perfect movie because it's one of the most like airtight scripts for a film that you could ever have. And I feel that way kind of about She-Hulk. Like even though they like completely break it all in the end and like do crazy weird fourth wall stuff, I think it is super tight to the theme, and every storyline is connected to that in some way of like, someone being slighted and power structures, and it really works.
Yeah. Well, I love the Bukowski stuff and the Asgardian shapeshifter when they bring in Jen to testify on his behalf. And her testimony is
who doesn't want to do that for their ex?
Oh God, that was hilarious. Like she's just like, no, he is absolutely the kind of guy who would believe that Megan the Stallion is into him.
And her Blonsky defense is great too. Like that scene is fantastic, where she's like stalling them for Wong. Like,
yeah. Oh, also, like I love Wong's little Benedict Wong is like low key an amazing comedic actor.
Yeah. Did you see Three Body?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Amazing.
He was great in that. Yeah. But what I love about here is like when he's talking to her, when he first appears to her and she's like, we're going to do this by the book. He's like, the Book of Vishanti. And she's like, no. And he's like, and he's like, he's like, okay, we'll use sorcery. It's like, no sorcery. He's like, okay. Right. Wink.
No, don't touch your nose. Don't do that.
And then also we get but also we see like these little things that would realistically happen. So you have like Mr. Immortal, this guy who's trying to get out of marriages because by just killing himself and then changing his name. Or, this guy who was at Comertage and he flunked out and then he's still using the magic in his actual magic show.
And that's so much like that She-Hulk run that I love is like
Mm.
every issue kind of has that vibe of like this like freak of the week, but like it's like the crazy Marvel like superhero case of the week, and this just fits it
Mhm.
so perfectly. And I remember back when this was going on, and like the Mephisto thirst in the MCU is real. Like when they reveal Mephisto, it better be somebody good because people are gonna like Philadelphia about it if it's not done right. Like
God,
people
I
thought
remember
Madison was
the
Mephisto. Like people thought Sigourney Weaver in Defenders was going to be Mephisto. Like if you don't know who the character is, it's Mephisto.
Jesus Christ, WandaVision was fucking insane with that shit. It's like
Yeah.
even like the fucking fly on the wall is Mephisto. I'm like, what are we doing here? Come on.
What would be really funny is if they go back and they say, yes, all of these characters were Mephisto, and then you introduce
Mm.
who actually is Mephisto. I've been there all along.
But also we had a Titania, Jamila Jamil,
Yeah,
which
amazing.
you know what? My biggest thing was I wish we saw more of her. Like I was expecting her
Yes.
to have a much bigger part in this series, and she's just very much kind of blink and you miss it. Like it was the trademark episode was great, but we didn't really get as much as I was hoping for with that actress because I think she's phenomenal on The Good Place. She's so funny,
Yeah.
and what we see of her here is great, and I wanted more.
Me too. You get like a good 15 to 20 minutes with her across the whole series, which I don't know if that's like once again like how they shot this, how they decided to put it all together, if they did it individually or whatnot. It has to be. The scripts are so like solid that it has to be that way. But I completely agree that as Titania, she was perfect, and I just wanted more of her. The whole like by episode 4, there's this moment where Wong opens the portal while she's on the date, and She-Hulk hops through, and all of this stuff is happening. And then she's talking about how her date was perfect as she's fighting demons. And I was like, man, this feels like Buffy at its like best.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes, absolutely. And that was really when Buffy was at its best. It's when they were able to balance, they were able to draw that distinction between it. And there's not a lot of MCU stuff that's really had the the space to show that balancing act trouble. Like even the Spider-Man movies where that is quintessentially the dilemma that Peter Parker has, they haven't been able to do that because they're movies. They're focused on much bigger things. So you haven't really been able to nail that working man dynamic. This TV show does that with She-Hulk, though. It really gets that aspect across.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the dating subplot was really fun and super necessary at the time too. Like we were all doing that in the pandemic. That's how I
Mm,
met my fiance, and it was like very necessary to have like that discussion and do it right
mhm.
and well.
But I also loved her profile, mean green and straight poured into these jeans. But that's the kind of thing like I was because that's one of the key aspects of She-Hulk in the comics is that bravado that she has when she's She-Hulk. And I think that, Maslany completely nails that in this when she in her She-Hulk form. Like at first, she's
Absolutely.
kind of awkward at first in it. So the first time I watched it, I was a little bit worried. I'm like, are they really going to be able to nail this aspect of it? But by the time they get to that episode, boom, they got it. She's completely in her element then.
Yeah. And I love that this show is like Jen feeling comfortable as She-Hulk, and the moment she does, like her like friend at the wedding is like, "Can you not do this?"
Mhm.
And like she has to shrink down, and you have that height difference, and it's so once again it's so tight. Like at the end of the big magician energy episode, you've got her getting served the trademark. The show moves so fast, and
Mhm.
it manages to really break your heart at times too. Like I
Yeah.
felt like when that guy sees her as Jen and is like, I'm just gonna go. It's like it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, I felt for her in that moment too. Absolutely. Um, which now we got to talk about. I think my favorite part of this though, it's got to be Daredevil coming in.
Oh hell yeah.
Charlie Cox coming in, and he fit in perfectly with the more kind of humorous version of this show. I like that they went with the yellow and red costume too, to switch things up a little bit. And he felt like he came right out of the Mark Waid, Chris Samnee run of Daredevil. He nailed that version of the character.
Yeah, no, I definitely have that like more positive, like I'm trying to be positive Matt Murdock vibes. It was so good, and he's so good in the courtroom. He's so good as Daredevil. He's so good as like not on lawyer Matt. And I'm glad they kept him. I would have been really disappointed had they not kept him.
Yes, yeah. I mean the courts. Well, like every time he's had a small part in all these and all that since he officially transitioned to the MCU, he's been amazing. Like his role in No Way Home is perfect. Spot his brief role in Echo as well. But like this was just like he really brought his A game to this, and he oozes charm. That courtroom scene, the bar scene, he is just like charming as a motherfucker. I wanted to sleep with him by the end of that scene.
Yeah, and like once again, like that really great screenwriting tip, if you're having trouble or like people aren't connecting with your character, have someone else talk about them. And like She-Hulk looks at the camera and goes, I think this is really working for me. And like you're already on board with her, and you're like in her, as a viewer, unless you're completely repressed, you can connect with any of the characters in some way or another. And especially a character that captures you so quickly as She-Hulk is able to do in this show, you're on board with her.
Yeah.
And if she's saying that, then that automatically like tells the viewer like, oh yeah, like I get that. And not just him, it all works together to make this moment really work.
Yeah, and well, their chemistry too is really on point. Like you totally buy. Like if Daredevil and She-Hulk is never a pairing I think has ever happened in the comics. Never one I would even think it to happen in the comics, but it works so well because of these two actors.
Yep.
And I love too, like just the walk of quote unquote walk of shame, although I say it's a walk of pride at the end. He's just rolling around with his Daredevil costume carrying his boots.
It's really good. That whole episode, I was happy to see the yellow and red, and like that they're able to fit in all of these things wherever they can, that if they have the opportunity, they're going to take it.
Well, also how they poke fun, how Daredevil even pokes fun at itself, where it's like they're like leading up to the hallway fight scene they have in every single season now, and it's like he's about to do it, and then Jen just crashes down through.
Yeah, it's great. And I love their argument, like, I'm going to do my thing. And he's like, you don't have a thing. You haven't done a thing yet.
But also bringing in Leapfrog, right? That's another deep cut from the comics.
I don't even know that one.
Oh, yeah. That's a deep cut from the comics, too. Yeah, he's just an epic loser type character. I don't know if he's got like a rich daddy in the comics, too, but I thought it really worked here.
It was very LA.
Yes, and the whole way that Matt's just like, what kind of fuel did you put in that? He's like, did you put jet fuel in those things?
How did you know?
And then we get the episode 9. Whose show is this? Again, poking. This is a great way of poking fun at the failings of the MCU, where they're talking about things like okay, yeah, the third act, it gets kind of sameness. And here where it's just like a total mess. And it's like, oh, they're trying to steal her blood so that he can become a Hulk. And then she's like, what the hell is going on? And she just bursts through the Disney Plus screen and tracks down Kevin.
It's perfect. That couldn't have ended any better. And the resolution there all really works out for me. My only detractor in all of these episodes was the way the wedding ends, and where the friend is like, oh, everything's fine. Like when it comes to like episode 9 and how she like dictates it all, and then her like delivery of like, yeah, and when are the X-Men showing up?
Yes.
And then she like gives like the thumbs up to the audience.
But also and the whole Kevin thing. He's like, well, the focus group show and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, no, let's just have a good story. I thought that it's great that, Marvel is able to poke fun at themselves with that kind of stuff.
And something really clicked for me, like on like a more like serious note with the Emil stuff, and
Mhm.
like seeing that he was just hosting these guys, and they were using him for like their own like ego boost as like this actual symbol of strength, this actual like hulking figure, and they needed him to be like their symbol, and he was just in it for the money. Like
Mhm.
something just clicked about how all of this like the situation we're all in globally is like working out, and it was like kind of tragic, and like Emil has no idea what he's doing, and they think that he believes in them and that he supports them, and it's all like very messy and like I don't want to say parasitic because I'm reading too much Ayn Rand, but it was just very like sad.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I didn't quite. I feel like, if anything, I feel like that part of it, I think, could have been emphasized a little bit more, because I missed that the first time around. The second time
Yeah.
around, I caught on to it a little bit more, and I feel like I think it's kind of overshadowed by everything that's happening in that episode, so it kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit.
And it's confusing. I remember going in intentionally like I need to make sense of this because if I can't
Mhm.
reconcile this, then there is actually a problem here in
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
situation. And like Emil does break his parole by turning into the abomination.
Mhm.
He is complicit in hosting these guys, but he is not in any way like going after She-Hulk, and he is not in any way not reformed. He is just in it for money.
Right. Well, he says when she pops in, he's like, Jen, what are you doing here? What's going on? he's
Yeah,
he's like,
exactly.
and well, also too, like, the wrecker sees her when she pulls up. He's like, oh yeah, come on, I'll set you up in a room and everything. So it's clear like none of them know what's really going on here with the intelligentsia.
Yep.
But also too, I love this idea that it's like, it's the intelligentsia, how they took this idea from the comic, and it's like this, and really it's just a bunch of fucking loser nerds is all it is at
Yep.
the end of the day. And I thought that was, and it's the same thing, like, all these, tech bro assholes who is just like, you know what, I'm not gonna be an advocate for bullying, but some of you assholes needed to be stuffed in a few lockers, I think.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking. And I was talking to my fiance today, and I was saying to her like, you know how like people talk about like, oh, I got on Ozempic and the food noise is gone. There's like this masculinity noise that must be going on for
Mm-hmm.
these people, that they're constantly thinking about like, am I a man if I do this, or like and it's just bizarre, and I don't care, like I don't have that in me, so I don't know how to like help these people, but I also can't empathize with them because it doesn't seem like they want help. They just want to be in this realm.
I just can't grasp that idea that you're going to be so insecure in your masculinity that you're going to go to these lengths to talk about how masculine you are. Like, the whole, if you're calling yourself an alpha and all that, you are not a fucking alpha. You're just a
Yeah,
loser. That's all. I mean, like, this,
it's
that's what I loved to, like, going into the political realm. That's what I loved about Tim Walz, because he had this genuine masculinity that was just like wholesome. Or even like,
yep,
going to the, like, you look at guys like Chris Hemsworth or, Chris Pine, like, these guys have this, kind of like healthy, wholesome masculinity about them. Or even John
absolutely.
Cena, right? Whoever thought about that? But like, he's this big buff guy, but he's also like, a really caring person. He does all this work for charity and all that kind of stuff. Like, I really like these wholesome views of masculinity we've been getting in recent years, and it's so much better than the toxic form that we grew up with, like the John Wayne bullshit.
Yeah, and like people seem to be wanting to double down on that, and I truly hope it is that like theory that like it's like the death knells of this stuff, that like as the idea like dies, it like raises in prominence, and it is a lot smaller, but it is a lot
Mm,
louder. And I hope that that's what is happening, and I hope it doesn't like truly destroy us. And I hope, and I've been reading that it seems like a lot of like the like Gen Z kids that like hopped on the bandwagon are like waking up to it a little bit, because I like, this stuff like the Republican propaganda like ruined my family.
mm.
And so I like I know how it all works. And
Yeah.
for a no, whole other generation and a whole other group of people to have to go through that is like heartbreaking. I hope that it is not as damaging as it has been prior.
Yeah, well, it's just such a fucking grift is what drives me nuts about it. It's such an obvious grift too. Like it's like you're gonna pay these assholes to teach you courses on how to be a man, and like I always like my dad was not like the most emotional people, but like he always taught like the way to be a man is just don't give a shit what other people think.
And
And it's like these
yeah,
guys are hypersensitive about what everybody thinks about them is. So it's like all this performative masculinity. It's just sad and pathetic.
yeah. And
And
this really captured that the whole way through. Like
it
how
did.
they thought like they thought that it was going to ruin She-Hulk by showing her life, but all it did was just make her angry. And people in the MCU, obviously have like Hulk trauma, so they're
Mhm.
really extreme about how they handle Hulks.
Um, well, also like I think one of the things that this show does, and this is what I'm kind of disappointed in how the MCU has handled damage control, because I think a damage control series like it was in the comics, where it is like kind of like a workplace sitcom, would have been such a would have been so well done. Instead, they're turning them into a version of like Hammer or something like that from the comics,
Yeah,
and that's kind of disappointing to see what they've done with that.
I hope that they'll change that around, because I always assumed like the Wrecking Crew were part of Damage Control. As far as I'm aware, like it was always like the Wrecking Crew and Damage Control from when
In the
I've seen
comics?
things. Yeah, from when I've seen them
Oh no
pop
no
up.
no no! They're separate from the damage
Oh,
control.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
In fact, the Wrecker started off as the villain to begin with, and then later they expanded it to the Wrecking Crew. And
Got it.
yeah, he was originally a Thor, originally facing off against Thor, I believe, is what it originally
Got it.
came out with. And they become like kind of like the go-to villains anytime you need like a superpowered throwdown type of thing.
Like Shocker for Spider-Man if you need somebody to
Shocker
pummel.
or the Rhino or something like that. Yeah, one of these guys who's just like in there to like cause trouble and just give for like a fight scene or something like that.
Gotcha.
But so now about the future of this. Well, there are a few things. First off, we have Daredevil Born Again coming soon, and we know there's going to be some kind of gap where we just know from the trailers and stuff that he stopped being Daredevil in this period between the two. So what's kind of your thoughts on what they should do with Daredevil? Like, do you think we'll see like some reference to She-Hulk or relationship with Jen or anything like that in that series? Do you even want something like that?
I hope so. I want this show to have legs again, and I feel like I part of me hopes that this was of the time when Rage was manufactured to like get people talking about it more. So maybe people really didn't hate this that much, and it really did do really well, and that we're gonna get a second season. But I don't have my hopes up as much. I really would love a second season of She-Hulk, and it'll help if Daredevil like brings it up, or
Mhm.
brings her in. But Daredevil when he's on his own is like, Batman without a Robin. It gets pretty dark.
Yeah.
And
And it's gotten, I mean, despite all the internet chatter, it's gotten a pretty decent response from critics. Like it's got like a 79-80% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now unfortunately, in January 2024, and this is on Wikipedia, Maslany said a second season was unlikely, stating, "I think we blew our budget," and Disney was like, "No thanks." And while Marvel works everything out, it's not that a second season of She-Hulk has been completely abandoned. Just seems that less likely than not at the moment.
yeah,
But because of its large budget, it would need major changes with its visual effects to become more cost effective. So that's not a good sign, because like I said, I had some issues with the CGI in this one to begin with. So I don't know, maybe if you do like a smaller episode count or something, maybe that would shorten the budget a little bit. But I
because
mean, Maslany's
you don't
sorry,
get
go
these
ahead.
supporting characters in like a movie. If She-Hulk's
Yeah.
going to show up, she's going to come through like a portal to fight something for 30 seconds. And
Mhm.
that's all you're going to get. Like, not even, like maybe 8 seconds. And like,
Yeah.
that's all you're going to get of her. You're not going to get all these supporting characters. And that is tragic to me.
Yeah. 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 And I really think if maybe if they can do like a shorter episode count or something, they could work out the or find some way where Maslany doesn't have to be in the She-Hulk form for as long of the time. I hope they work out something because I agree with you. I think this is a really good example of one of the things I like about these Disney Plus series is that you can explore these other avenues of the MCU that you can't touch in the movies. So being able to do something like She-Hulk is really cool. And like I still want to see like I think what a great thing to see would be like a Doc Samson TV show. Bring back the guy from the Incredible Hulk and have him, be like a Dr. Katz for superheroes or something like that. Or like a
Yeah.
Frasier for superheroes or something.
Like, it's. She, Deadpool does the She-Hulk thing fine, right?
Hmm.
But like I would much rather She-Hulk over Deadpool, and that just is my own bias. But we're not gonna get that, and that just is so tragic.
For the fourth wall breaking, the parody aspect, I like Deadpool a little bit more, but I do like She-Hulk as the like workplace comedy type thing. I think that's
Yeah,
where it works
no,
really well.
for sure. But there's nothing like it in the MCU. There's
No,
nothing else
absolutely.
that like fits the. I mean, Howard the Duck maybe, but like that's more like funny noir, I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
So nothing is gonna fill this like little void, and I want more.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so also on that note too, what did you think of bringing in Scar at the end? Because that was the other thing where I'm just like, I don't think we really need this.
Yeah, the I remember like at the beginning when they have their crash, and I was like, what is this spaceship? Do they ever talk about
Hmm.
this spaceship again? And like it took till episode 3 for him to be like gone in the spaceship and then Scar. And then that feels like so weird that that whole
Yeah.
thing part of the storyline at all.
Yeah, because I guess what we're supposed to believe happened is I guess he had he had impregnated someone as the Hulk when he was on Sakaar, and then now he's come of age or something like that is probably what the is kind of what the backstory is. I'm guessing is supposed to be, but it feels so tacked on at
Yeah,
the end here, and I just didn't feel like we really needed that.
I agree.
I did like Wong coming back to for Blonsky to finally accept Wong's offer of sanctuary at Kamar-Taj, though,
Yeah.
and him
And
asking like, "Is there Wi-Fi?"
and like, they bring it up in during Kevin. Like they didn't have to have Scar there because she's like, save that for one of the movies. But they still
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, yeah. I guess that was kind of like that was Kevin reasserting some authority there at the end.
I guess so.
Uh, but I think that's anything else you want to mention about She-Hulk?
No, just that I felt that they managed to give me all of the emotions and it was utterly satisfying and I want more.
Yeah, same here. Definitely want more. And also, forgot to mention, but I think was it at beginning of episode the last episode where they redo it in like the Incredible Hulk TV show style. Yeah, it was so much fun. I loved seeing that. And it also reminded me that they did that machine type thing in the Incredible Hulk too, the movie with Ed Norton. So that brought me back to that too. Um, I think that's one of the good things. Like this also kind of makes me glad that we ended up the switch to Mark Ruffalo. I really do think that I don't think Ed Norton could have done Banner the way that Ruffalo does in this one. Like I think Norton was fine, but I definitely think Ruffalo has really kind of made this character his own. I don't think a Norton Hulk in this version would have really worked in this show. Yeah. Hmm. Right. Well, this is a Hulk that's, you know, kind of adjusted himself. So I think, and it makes sense when you look at what they've done with this version of the character. Whereas, I mean, someone posted on Reddit asking about if Hulk has ever led the Avengers in the comics. I'm like, Hulk has barely been an Avenger in the comics. He was only on there, like he fucked off early on in the series, and then he only came back in Hickman's run, and even then he left pretty quickly after that. So yeah, I mean, he's just never been a big. So he's a much more chaotic character in the comics. Whereas here, if you're gonna have him stick around in the Avengers, you gotta have some way to soften that up. Otherwise, it eventually comes a question like, what are you guys doing with this rampaging monster on your team who's always, you know, going nuts? So yeah, I think all that worked out very well. Yeah, disappointing that we're probably not going to get a second season. I agree with you on that. I definitely want to see more. I don't know, maybe we can see Maslany in the movies or something like that. So hopefully we'll see her in the Avengers films or something, because, you know, she's been a member of the Avengers for a lot more than Hulk has. So maybe we could see something like that. All right. Well, Ralph, thanks so much for coming on. Why don't you tell people where they can find you? Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Well, you can check that out in the show notes. As for us, superherocinephiles.com. We're also on Blue Sky at Super Cinema Pod, also on Instagram and Threads at Super Cinema Pod, but there we just basically just post updates whenever the new episode drops. And superherocinephiles.com websites. If you want to find out how to be a guest yourself, you want to find out any other stuff about us, go check that out. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to the Superhero Cinephiles podcast. Superhero Cinephiles is produced by me, Percival Constantine. The show is created by myself and the late, great Derek Ferguson, our host emeritus. Visit us on the web at superherocinephiles.com to listen to past episodes or find out how you can be a guest yourself. Support the show by visiting our advertiser links or click the Buy Me a Coffee link on the website to make a one-time donation. We are Super Cinema Pod on both Instagram and Blue Sky, so please be sure to follow us. We'd also appreciate if you could rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and share us with your friends.
Thank you for listening. And as always, good night, good evening. God bless.